All right, let's introduce ourselves. Starting over here.
Okay. I'm Gary Colley.
And Gary, what was your role in all of this?
Pardon?
What was your role in all of
I do the body man, paint man, some welding, odds and ends.
this? Okay, we're gonna go over here.
Jay Plyler. I drove this creation.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm Keith Colley. I built the engines and a lot of the car stuff. Mostly a mechanic, I guess.
Oh,
I'm Bill Ziegler. I just helped out wherever I could.
We were the
Whatever
chassis
they
man.
wanted, I monkeyed around chassis and built parts for it and so on.
humility will not work here, so feel free. Your group is still together, right? I mean,
Kind of, sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys, when I raced for, after sold the coupe, you were going to some races.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I probably didn't miss any.
No, Bill didn't.
Bill,
In fact, at the last year, Bill and I were the only ones that went to Erie. He drove the truck and I rode with him. Our wives got tired of going. They didn't complain, they just got tired of it. We get to Erie and somebody said, "Where's the crew?" And Bill say, "This is the big and the little of it."
A late model teamed up with a coupe.
They were
So
both
you
on the
guys
same-
must not participated because you were still racing in 75 and
Yeah.
76.
Yeah, we would have had a late model. We wouldn't have had a
You would, so you would have been teamed up
Yeah.
with somebody with a coupe.
That'd be interesting, I don't remember.
Well,
Honest to
you're
God.
giving me a job to find out
Yeah.
who you were teamed up with.
Yeah.
If we were in it, yeah.
Well, hey, oh God, it's right here. You finished third in 1976.
Our
Your
ages-
teammate was Johnny Whitehead.
Okay. CRS. You know what CRS is, don't you? Can't remember.
shit.
Can't remember too
we
much.
all raise our hand to that. And if you're in the lead on that last lap, who among the drivers you raced against would you least like to have in your rear view mirror coming up at you? Who was the driver you just didn't want to have?
Bobby.
Why would that be?
He never quit.
Yeah.
He's like a bulldog. You know, they get a hold of your pant leg, they won't quit. He just never quit.
He would know.
This is Bobby?
He wouldn't even know. it.
Bobby
yeah.
just never quit.
Yeah.
In fact, I always felt bad about that. The last race that I drove for our late model, the last race at Stateline, I had it won. And I got into three a little deeper than I maybe should have, and I had rear axle hop, which we never did. I mean, that was not, I won't say never, but when we had it, we fixed it. And Bobby slid right up inside of me and went on and won the race. So I lost the last race that I ever drove our Ford late model to Bobby.
Yeah.
I didn't care if he was behind me.
Well,
I could outrun him.
yeah,
It
well,
was when he was in front of you was the problem.
well, there you go.
He used the whole track. He used the whole track under the yellow flag. Then it got worse. Stateline had a unique at that time. They started the race where the last week's feature winner would be like 20th.
20.
And then the high point man in points would start 19th and then toward the front. Well, there were guys that played that point system.
Oh yeah.
So
And then they even changed it and they'd average your last three.
Yeah.
And they had all kinds of, and what it made for good racing because fast cars were always in the back, except for the guys that played games. And I know there was several of the local guys that they'd just come to the racetrack on Saturday night and say, "Oh, we couldn't get the engine done." Well, they just set that one out to lower their average, so they'd start up front. They weren't going to win. They weren't going to run for points anyway.
You want to name names, Jay?
Nope. You're taping, and he's your lawyer now.
Before we conclude here, that I don't know if your paths even crossed. Stroke or McGurk?
remember him.
Remember him.
And-
Remember.
Yeah, I never talked to him. I
didn't
saw him
ever
in
know
the,
what his real
and,
name was
you know, I
until
remember.
that. I
Yeah.
thought it was Stroker McGill.
So did I.
So did we.
You know, that picture of his coupe, I remember, boy, he used to try to give Ronnie fits with that coupe, but he just couldn't get her done.
Yeah. I
I'm
got
telling you exactly the way it was.
You gotta know about the transmission.
They got to know about this transmission deal. I mean, no.
The lawyer,
Now we're
Well,
getting
we won't
somewhere.
mention any names.
Yeah, yeah, that's it.
But
Statute of limitations helps you there.
yeah, well,
tremendous.
the transmission that we,
you know, had one, yeah.
yeah, the Fairway Ford gave us, it wasn't really the transmission, but it would work, so we used it. And it was out of a 6-cylinder Ford.
We wanted it because of the ratio.
Yeah,
That was
because
not an
we had
accident. We
some
knew-
gears that we could put with it and make it work. So
We understood gear ratios.
yeah, and so we had it in the car and we raced it a couple nights, and then we decided to go to they opened Wattsburg, and they said, well, you know, that's on a Friday night, and the guys were going to go up there, and I said, well, we'll go up. Yeah, so we did. We loaded the car up, and we went up to Wattsburg, went out in the race, ripped out second gear. All right, this is Friday night, so we got to go Stateline Erie.
Well, there was a big race the next night, wasn't there?
Yeah, I said, what are you going to do? We can't get parts to fix it. Can't, you know, it's an oddball transmission. And one of the guys that was with us that worked for a dealership said, hey, I think we have one on the lot. He says, you mean, what do you mean? He says, I think there's a car down there just like that.
Identical.
6-cylinder with a standard shift. He says, let's go check it out. Let's get home. So we loaded up and we headed home. And he goes, yeah, same thing, just what we need. Same ratio, same transmission, bolt it right in. So he got the keys, went inside. Oh, he got it through a window, didn't he?
I wasn't in on that.
No names. He didn't know anything about it.
We didn't do it. It's funny, true story.
True story. So he gets in, gets the keys to the car. It's out in the used car lot. Grabs the car, drives it. We pull it into the
Body shop.
body shop. Jack it up in the air. Put tape around it. And
Like
paper
it's
all
gonna be
around.
painted?
Yeah, paint it all around so nobody can see
Take the
underneath
transmission
it.
out.
Pull the transmission out of it. Pull the transmission out of it. Take it up to the house. It's at the garage. Put it in the race car. Go to
Race
State
Saturday
Line
night?
Saturday night. Go to Erie Sunday night. Get back Sunday night. Pull the race car in the garage. Yank the transmission out of it.
He had to go into work about 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
He worked there. Put the transmission
Put the
in.
transmission in the car. Pulled all the paper off it. Put everything down. Drove
Put
it
it
back
back.
out. Parked it back in the lot. Hung the keys up. Nobody ever knew the difference.
Didn't hurt it.
Didn't hurt a bit.
All of us, we had
All
what was
of us
called synergy.
Yeah, yeah.
It was
We never had a fight.
best
Never.
time in my life.
Never had a fight.
We never had an argument or anything about
We
anything.
would agree on things,
Yeah.
but we'd
Right.
work it out.
Probably me too.
If I had a way to do, I'd go back and do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's introduce ourselves. Starting over here.
Okay. I'm Gary Colley.
And Gary, what was your role in all of this?
Pardon?
What was your role in all of
Oh, I do the body man, paint man, some welding, odds and ends.
this? Okay. We're gonna- Okay, we're gonna go over here.
Jay Plyler, I drove this creation.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm Keith Colley. I built the engines and a lot of the car stuff. Mostly a mechanic, I guess.
I'm Bill Ziegler. I just helped out wherever I could.
We were the
Whatever
chassis.
they wanted, I monkeyed around chassis and built parts for it and so on.
Humility will not work here, so feel free.
Guys at Stateline, they were the ones that we figured were, I mean, they were the best we ever saw.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
They were the heroes,
Whiteheads and Johnny and
Squirt Johns.
Spurt and Bobby was coming into his own in the
Yeah.
60s. He got better. He got better after we started racing.
Yeah, got a whole lot.
I mean, you know, he got harder and harder to beat.
Was it that made Ron so unbeatable?
He, as you know, he said in an interview that one of the reasons is that he had cars built by Frank Roman. And Frank was ahead of his time. And plus Ronnie was pretty talented, you know. And there's another guy that got better, you know. He got better and better and better.
Yeah, we made him get better.
Well, he'll tell you that.
Well, he did.
Well, he got lazy there. He was winning pretty easily.
I think you probably came as far away as anybody. Was it because of the track? Was it because of the money? What was it that kind of drew you guys here?
It definitely was. That was. I mean, that was almost like Daytona.
That was big time racing.
Yeah. I mean, they paid.
You ever been to Bradford Speedway?
Len Briggs, what did he mean to you guys?
Go ahead.
I don't know. Those guys are always great.
They treated us great.
Yeah, they were always good.
Probably Leonard's the only one that I ever had a run in with, and I knew then he was right. You know, he was a lot of times he was considered the bad guy. Well, he's the only one that made decisions on the cars. So you know, he was the enforcer, and we had a discrepancy with our car, and he won. And, but
Lloyd Williams.
well, I like Lloyd. He was a great announcer, but I never felt that he was a big fan of mine. He always called me Jay Plyler, and it didn't bother me one bit. But a lot of fans, they'd come over and they'd say, "We told him that that's not the way to pronounce your name." Well, he just kept saying it. Well, I think he did it out of spite, you know, but it didn't bother me. In fact, Ronnie Blackmer, he still calls me Plyler.
Were named Rookie of the Year back in a place called Hummingbird in it was 66, I guess. Where was Hummingbird? Is it
Down in Du Bois,
is
Pennsylvania.
there?
The year that Jim Moffat and I built that old 58 Ford, we ran Bradford Speedway on Sunday night and Hummingbird on Saturday night. But we didn't run it every night at either track. I mean, you know, it wasn't a full-fledged deal. We ran Hummingbird probably half the year. And I guess I didn't realize it. I was the Rookie of the Year. Tells you anything about my age, it had an Etzel engine in it.
Yeah.
How about the hammer?
This is a true story. We pulled our tools. He said, well, my dad has a hydraulic jack he's not using. I said, my dad's got some safety stands. And we gathered up odds and ends. Our toolbox was this big, literally. That's the only tools we had. And we got started on the car, and we didn't have a hammer. And Jim Moffat said, well, you know, I don't have one, but I'll buy one, and then I'll have it for my house also. Good idea. Next night we go up, he bought a claw hammer. That's what we built that coupe with, a claw hammer.
Getting back to the rules, Keith said one time, we never broke the rules, but we sure bent the hell out of them. All the engines that he ever built throughout our racing years, we never lost an engine.
The only one that went bad was with soft plug popped out. That's all this is water.
Well, that was my idea.
Yeah.
I found these high-dollar, high-tech, high-performance soft plugs, where you put them in and you tighten a cap screw and it expands, and I mean, this is the real deal, you know. And he didn't like them. He said there's nothing wrong with the old style. So that's what came out. That's right. That's the truth.
Yeah, well.
Well, you showed him, I'm telling you.
And it
But it
didn't
stayed
really
in.
To kind of wrap up that sportsman part of your world, did you make any money?
Yep.
Did you?
When we started it, we put in $200 a piece.
This is no lie. I mean, they think that we had this big high-dollar car.
$200. Not all at once.
Four of us.
Not all at once. And we made him the treasurer, and which really wasn't fair because he carried the weight so much on the engine and everything, but he was it. And to this day, I never saw a paper. You know what I mean?
So, that house in Florida?
Yeah. That's why we didn't make any money. That's because there was no money to operate on.
We had to be very conservative every time we built an engine. It was conservative.
Well, yeah. How'd you like to been the driver? This guy, this guy's the engine man, and he said, "I'm not building," and he meant it. He said, "I'm not putting a lot of horsepower and a lot of compression because I don't want to work on it all the time." He said, "That engine is to get you to the next turn. You pass the guys in the turns."
Yeah.
And he was
said-
serious.
I was serious. I said, if you watch the racing, nobody passes anybody down the straightaway unless it's really bad. All the passing is done in the turns. And I says, we'll build an engine just to keep up with everybody going down the
Yeah.
straightaway. And when we get to the
And that's the
turn,
truth.
it's up
That's
to
the
you.
way we operate.
To get to the corner, and it's a whole new experience every
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, as Jim Moffitt used to say that. He said a lot of these drivers, he said they've been driving for 20 years, and every time they get to a turn, it's a whole new experience. I thought that was pretty cute.
Hey, Hellman, get over here.
My dad bought that grocery store over there.
Okay.
52 to about 60, I would say.
Okay. So this would have been right at the beginning of Stateline Speedway.
Yeah, that's why you know I helped pull the logs out of the woods with the old farm tractor, you know. The other guys were cutting the trees down, and that was at the beginning.
Did you go into the pits a lot?
Oh, I was in there, yeah, oh yeah. I carried the fire extinguishers in the trunk of my car.
Is there?
For Leonard. Yeah, so I was every Saturday night.
Right.
And when I first got interested in racing, I used to go up to Skyline during the day.
Yeah.
I was supposed to be working for my dad. I'd sneak up there in the afternoon. He had a coupe, modified, I guess you want to call it. He put a battery in it and let me go out there making me about 100 laps, dusty, dirty. I go back to the grocery store to help my dad, and I'd be filthy. Just the old man say to me, he said, you know, where you been? He couldn't lie to him. I mean, you're just absolutely covered in dirt.
Right. Your early heroes.
Dean Layfield.
Dean Layfield?
Oh yeah, he was a character and he was a showman.
Right.
Yeah, he just, I don't know, he was just one. He was, and then the name's catchy too, you know.
Yeah.
For some reason, it was catchy to me. But he was my early hero.
And of course the number 9/16.
9/16, and I could at the time. Couldn't stand Emery Man, but we wanted to be best friends, you know,
Right.
and one of the greatest guys I ever knew. You know, once you get into things, and later on down the line, so.
Now, why did you just dislike Emery?
Oh, Chevrolet.
Oh, so,
Oh yeah, I like the Merc. I like the Ford products. Oh yeah.
so it got to be brand name.
Yeah.
You said, gee, I'd like to get out there and race myself. What was sort of that tipping point?
In the early '60s, there, '61.
Right.
You know, and I just, it was time to do something, and that's when I got hooked up with the Phil Cronin deal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I got hooked up with that deal. Bought his car from him. He came up from Houston. He went to Cleveland and got it out of Hawk.
Right.
And then he brought it to Jamestown. And him and I went to Daytona to races.
Number 15, always your number?
No, I got that from where I lived on Price Street in Jamestown.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. Same, you know, I got that. Joe Sauner did that. I asked him long years ago, where'd you get that number 18? And we lived on 18th Street.
You're off and running for the first time. What was your reaction?
I didn't have no idea where I was headed. I just hoping I didn't get run over too bad.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You know, guys get mad at you and you're in their way. And so you go down in the corner and hope it turns.
Always look at a program and you see Phil Cronin, Houston, Texas.
Yeah.
What was the real story there?
Well, he was racing Markham them days, which is Archer today. And he was based in Cleveland.
Right.
And we were, I think, down in Pittsburgh at Heidelberg and pitted next to him.
Right.
And Kenny Johnson was running them days. And got talking to him, and you know how it goes. And where do you race? And blah, 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 blah. So I guess somehow he had a Saturday night. Markham wasn't running, or they got rained out. And he came to Stateline. He won about third.
Really?
First time he was at the track.
63.
Yeah, that was the old Cronin car there. It was the old Phil Cronin car.
Right.
Yeah. Sheet metal up a little bit, but it had a few fenders knocked off of it.
Nothing you had to do about it, did you?
Oh yeah. That was like you say, when you start up front, you get run over. Eddie Kisco drove my car, that Ford, you got pictures there,
Right.
in 1963, August of 63, the year my son was born.
Ah.
And I wasn't allowed to come to the racetrack unless I could tell him it was a boy or a girl. Well, he wasn't born till after midnight.
Ah.
And Kisco drove my car, and he led, I think he led right up to about 3 or 4 laps from the end of the feature, and the gas leakage fell off.
Ah.
And he coasted the infield, and that was the end of that night.
This is 65.
Oh yeah, I was back. That's the same car with some fenders hung on it. The Ford always was the same car I bought originally. Art Anderson, flagman. Hadn't seen him in years. I guess he's dead.
This is 67. American Service was one of your sponsors.
Yeah, that car there belonged to Marks, Forrest Marks.
This is 68 with Jerry Haas.
Yeah, it was a Jerry.
This is 1970. It looks like this may be the beginning of the Jim Rade era.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, that was. There's Marv Thorpe's brother there, Don Thorpe, and his son in the back there. Oh yeah, that was it. Community Chrysler Plymouth.
And this is 71.
Yeah, that's the next year with Raid. It was hard to win there. You had pretty good competition there. You know, with Squirt and Bobby, Jim Scott.
Right.
Made some pretty good competition there. And there were other guys that would run just good enough that you couldn't get by them. You know, you chase them all night long. Wind up 8th, 9th, 10th. You should have passed them on the first, second lap, but just didn't happen.
Right.
Wouldn't have. There was a lot of good cars on that dirt track up there. It was a good track.
When I say Squirt Johns, what's that really mean to a Paul Hellman?
Oh, you feared him because you knew he was good. You knew he'd get around you. And so you just had to, when you beat him is when you really felt good about things.
Yeah.
When you beat him. You know, I did there with the Community Chrysler car.
Right.
Yeah, I beat him quite a few times.
Right.
And I run him down a 100-lapper one time. No, the biggest one was down in Smithton, Pennsylvania, down below Pittsburgh.
Right.
Yeah, I won the 200-lapper down there
My gosh.
in 72 or 3 it was.
Rumor has it he had a pretty quick trigger.
Rumor's right.
I'm seeing nods from the peanut gallery over there.
Yeah, rumor's right. But then you know what? The next day, he'd come up and hug you like you were brothers.
Yeah.
So it was all over. But
Did you have a nickname?
yeah,
What was it?
I don't want to say. Okay. You tell him, Skip. It was Skins.
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 Okay.
I come from Sugar Grove. Marv Thorpe.
Okay.
Yeah. I come from over there in Sugar Grove.
Skins?
Yeah. Some guy was named Skins over there. And I pulled a stupid mistake one time. And so right away he said, hey, here's Skins. Oh, yeah.
If you were leading and you were on the final lap and you're leading in the feature and there was one guy you did not want to have behind you because he might just push you around, move you around, or just didn't want to have, who would that be?
You know who that would be. Old Dill. Old Tom Dill. Good guy, but I'll tell you what. No doubt about it. But like I say, he's a great guy otherwise, you know.
Yeah.
When the races are all over and the beer got cracked out, and there he was.
Jug Pierce.
Oh, Lord. Oh, yeah, Jughead. Everybody's got to like Jughead. Everybody. He's a character.
How so?
Just Jughead. I mean, what do you take the name for example. You know, he's just a character.
Yeah.
You know, and he did a lot of crazy things. Can't really talk about him on tape. Jack Woodring was driving bus for Greyhound in Jamestown.
Right.
He had taken a bunch of ladies out to do a meeting in Cleveland. They were in the WCTU, the Women's Christian. Well, the next week he had to go pick them up. So he went and got the bus on downtown. Just about got to Cleveland, he looked in the rearview mirror, his Jug in the back seat, just waking up and stretching. All blurry-eyed. Woodring told me himself, he said, my God, he said, I didn't know if I had my job anymore or not. He said, I see. He got him to calm down, them ladies. He amused them ladies coming back.
Oh, I'm sure he did.
Oh, he amused them. Yeah, he was nice. His language was all right. But things like that Jug would do. But the guy that impressed me, I guess I could say the guy that impressed me, when the Stateline had a 100-lap invitational. And this Tommy Weimer come up out of Youngstown, Ohio. And I knew him pretty well. And he was one of them. He'd drive down that straight like a rocket ship, shut her right down that corner, right around the bottom, and come out the other side. And he just run away from everybody. Everybody else is flaunting around up there and spinning the tires and throwing dust. He just ran away from them.
Right.
You know.
What were the economics of it all, Paul? Did you guys, did you make it when the day was done? Did it break even? Did you?
Barely.
So you raced really from a period of time like about 63
Yeah.
through early 70s?
Yeah, I left here in 75. I went south, and I raced down there for 3 more years.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for coming up.
Great.
Pennsylvania, number 51, driver unanimously selected as the man we would least like to see in our rearview mirror, Tom Dill.
If you were leading a feature race and you're on that last lap, who was the guy you least likely wanted to have on your tail? The guy you knew was just going to be mean about it or aggressive?
Yeah, Tom Dill was. He'd run right over you. It's Tom.
It's unbelievable.
He spun me out quite a few times, and I never did get close enough. I would have worked him over if I'd have got close enough. But I never did get close enough to.
Tom Dill, him.
Tom Dill.
I say he's nuts.
Yeah, Tom Dill, he was a hot shot.
I tried to run that way with Tom Dill, I remember.
Oh, God, Tommy. Yeah.
Tom Dill, me and Tom Dill, we had a feud for I don't know how many years.
You connect with a guy like Tom Dill. What's the connection here?
We drove a car.
Yeah. Was he any good?
Well,
One racer that you just didn't want to have at that last lap?
Well, I think one of my heroes is Tom Dill.
You win! You win! That's
Yeah.
everybody says that.
Yeah,
Tommy Dill, there's a pretty good chance he would get a hit back.
I see. Tom Dill, he was a hot shot back in about those heydays also.
Tom was an aggressive driver.
Tom Dill.
That third or fourth turn.
I'll tell you what, you didn't want to be in front of Tom Dill.
You win! Is there anybody out there also that sort of was more aggressive than others? The guy who really would kind of bump you around no matter what?
Tom Dill took me out of a few races, I tell you.
On your tail, if you're on the final lap of the final race, the guy you wouldn't want to have there. And virtually everybody. Well, who would you think?
Tom Dill would be one because he'd give you a little push.
If you were leading and you were on the final lap and you're leading in the feature and there was one guy you did not want to have behind you because he might just push you around, move you around, or just didn't want to have, who would that be?
You know who that would be. Old Dill. Old Tom Dill. Good guy, but I'll tell you what. No doubt about it. But like I say, he's a great guy otherwise, you know.
Yeah.
When the races are all over and the beer got cracked out, there he was.
Tom Dill.
With the guys I've raced with?
Yeah.
Tom Dill.
Tom Dill.
scared the living daylights out of me.
The answer that everybody else, from Squirt Johns to Bobby Schnars to Marv Thorpe, when we asked the same question, every one of those guys, we asked the same question. They said the one single person they did not want to be on that last lap with one-on-one was Tom Dill. Why would they say that?
I don't have any idea. I feel good about that.
That's the respect that you had for
everybody.
Everybody.
That's
Said
one answer.
You were the hardest guy to race with. You raced harder than anybody.
Well, we all knew when out there we thought we could win.
Everybody has a favorite Tom Dill story.
Well, one of my favorites, of course, now this is after 65.
Doesn't matter.
But
we can open it up here.
Tom and I were feuding quite bad. And one night in a 50-lap race, I knew that Tom was going to get me. So I thought the only way to solve this problem is to get him first. So I did, and I got him good. He ended up somewhere over by the flagpole, and he come back out on the racetrack, and he was going around the inside of the racetrack kind of slow. And I knew he was waiting for me, you know, and he was going to get me. So I thought, well, I just got to get him again. And I did. Well, after the race, Leonard come calling. And he got me and he took me and Tom down towards the pond. And this was after the race, you know, and he wanted to know what the hell was all that about. And I told Leonard that, you know, Tom was, which I think the week before he'd spun me out, and I told him that, you know, I had bumped Tom there early in the race and he'd spun out. And when I come around a few laps later, he was running around the inside slow, and I knew he was going to get me, so I thought I better get him first. And Tom says, no, he says he broke my car when he hit me the first time, and I was just trying to finish the race. But you know, Leonard really loved it. He really did. He'd give us hell, and you know, let's not have any more of that. And
pat you on the back.
But Tom, you couldn't do anything to him to intimidate him. I mean, he'd come right back and get you the next week and do it intensely and then laugh like hell about it.
Tommy wasn't that bad. I've waited for him up in the corners, waited for him to come, and took him down by the flagpole a few times. His wife.
He wouldn't do anything like that.
No, no. I remember one night over the area, I'm sitting up there. He took me out in a I had to get qualified. He took me out in a consolation race or something. My wife used to sit with Big Red as one of his wives. Oh. He's been married 15 times so far. But anyway, don't get mad now. But I sat there waiting for him to come around. And my little Norwegian told Red, he said, Tom and I are close, real close. And he finally pissed him off. He told and I did. I caught him. I got him. Don't get carried away now, he said. The only way you got by Tom is when he'd get it broke loose like you were talking about Dean, get the ass end hanging out of it, then you shoot underneath him, shut the door so he couldn't come off the corner without hitting you. That's the only way you got by him. And one night at Erie, I don't remember what happened. I was leading the race, he was leading the race back and forth. And finally, I shot it underneath him and I run about 2 laps. It was one of them nights where everybody's lead broke down or something. Well, anyway, I've got by him that probably the same that way. He come running over. We're no longer friends, and I ripped my. Good. Now I won't feel bad when I wrap you right between the eyes. Now don't get carried. Anyway, we both laughed. Oh, God almighty.
Let's talk about Tom Dill. What was his reputation as a driver?
Oh, he said he carried a gun.
Be careful.
There's only one man scarier, was 39, Johnny Whitehead. He looked over at you. Is
that right?
I don't think he had any teeth or something. He looked pretty scary. You know, he could intimidate you, Johnny Whitehead.
Yeah, Tommy's a good friend. Can't remember too much about. We used to go to Motordrome and race, and Tom would bring his motorcycle, and then he'd try to go up the hill with me on it, you know. And we'd get almost to the top, and I just put my feet down. I always told the same thing: you can't kill me that way. I won't let you. But Tommy, we had Warren, Pennsylvania. He come up the back straightaway and flipped it. And I know I come up the back straightaway, and I was running behind him, but the car looked like it was going to catch on fire. I remember jumping out and getting him out on my shoulders and running to the infield, and that was it. That's we were a buddy from there that day on. Honest to God, we're closer than what you can believe.
I can remember Tom Dill coming alongside. He raced the same year car, I think, and it was a Dodge as I did. And I can remember coming around and passing me. I think it was coming out of the 4th turn and looking over at me and smiling and just slamming me into the wall. Didn't hurt, other than paint, you know, and smiled. And that's all he did. No bad feelings, no nothing, man. And I knew what he was up to, you know. So it didn't bother me.
Kind of welcome to the club.
Yeah.
If you had Tommy Dill, there's a pretty good chance he would get hit back. And he could do it.
Was he that good?
Yes, he was very good.
Yeah.
Yes, he was. Well, Tommy was at the racetrack a few weeks later, and he had his bag with him. George says, Tommy's looking for a ride, and he was going to the late models. And he says, you're going for a ride. Because that's what Tommy wants. He wants to drive a car. And he says he'll get you. Then he'll be happy. It'll be all over with.
You just wanted to even the score.
Well, I didn't spin him out. Oh, yeah, I did that right out there. Yeah, I see him put his suit on. I knew he had a ride, and I see what car he was in. He missed me the first time, but he didn't miss me the second time. George says, he's all right now.
He did what he wanted to do. That's all. He won't bother you anymore.
He's one guy that you wouldn't want to try to get by on the last lap, I'll tell you, because either you both wouldn't finish the race or you wouldn't anyways. But that was the way he was. But I'll tell you something about Tom Dill. I think he had more talent to drive a race car. I mean, all around talent. He didn't do a terrible amount of winning at Stateline, but he could do things with a car that I'd never seen anybody else do.
Tom Dill, he was a good guy, but if he could gain a position by pushing you all the way, he sure do it in a hurry, I'll tell you. In fact, a 50-lapper at Erie, I was leading that race, and I guess probably what really hurt the most is the winner of that 50-lapper automatically qualified for the Stony 2. And I was leading that race. The white flag came out. I went through 1 and 2, come down the backstretch, went into 3. Well, I knew Tom was chasing me because every turn I see that orange fender, you know, and I'm just driving my brains out trying to stay ahead of him, you know. Took the white flag, go through 1 and 2, down the backstretch. Like I say, coming into 1, there's that orange fender. Coming into 3, there's that orange fender, and it's really coming because he put me around so quick it wasn't even funny. I thought, you got to be kidding me. In fact, my wife had both boys up at the fence because she was telling, hey, Dad's going to win the feature. Dad's not going to win the feature. I think I finished like 3rd because I think by the time I got myself gathered up, I think Ronnie Blackmer went by too. I think Ronnie finished 2nd and I finished 3rd, you know. That's the only thing I think about. I still remember that night, you know.
Tom was an aggressive driver. He's like
You're so political.
He's like Earnhardt, like Mr. Earnhardt used to be.
Yeah.
He'd give you a little bump, then go by, and then yeah, yep, he is all right. But he's a good driver, but he wanted to win. He was out there to win.
Yeah.
Dill would scare you. I mean, I was in the points most of the time, and Dill wasn't a lot of time, and he didn't care if he won or not. You know, if he can't win, he don't want to finish. He wanted to win. That's the only way.
Right.
And if you were in his way, look out.
When the
But he used to scare me. I was a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
I only weighed nothing.
Of course, Tom Dill, you know, he must have had a riot there. Still remember him rolling that guy's car over, putting it up on top of the guardrails for him. Tell
us about that.
What was it? The guy wanted him to try the car out because it was pulling to the right or something. And he pulled to the right. He put it right up on the guardrails for the guy.
Tom Dill, he came to my garage one time when we were working in there, and he came down, and it was in the summertime, and both the bays were open. And all of a sudden I hear this roar, here comes a motorcycle. He spun it right around in the garage. Boy, we scattered.
In the garage?
In the garage. Oh, he was that way. I mean, we were friends and like that, but he was crazy.
The funniest part about Tom is he was the nicest guy you'd want to meet, but he was a...
Parky in a heartbeat.
And sit there and laugh about it.
Yeah.
I mean, he'd take you out and be just grinning all the way.
The dread going to Erie. Sunday nights was terrifying to me. I'm thinking about this all the way up to Erie. For me to do good, I got to get past Tom Dill. and Tom Dill, he could do things with the car, and it was, in the first place, he wasn't fixing it, so he wasn't as careful about, you know, he wasn't worried about when he hit something.
Did you recognize anybody?
I see them all. A lot of trouble. I didn't realize that some of them liked me so well.
Is that right, John? Did he ever bump into you? Tom?
Not that I can remember.
Not to never. This never happened. Never happened.
Running away all the goddamn
You got a lot of press in there today, but it wasn't all good.
You think he cares?
He's laughing now.
He's laughing now.
He don't like me anymore.